Growing calls by Democrats to move ahead with those articles of impeachment, despite President Trump having only 9 days left in office. Democrats now saying that the impeachment trial could take place after Joe Biden is inaugurated.
Let's give President-elect Biden the 100 days he needs to get his agenda off and running, and maybe we'll send the articles sometimes after that.
For more on the strategy behind that, let's bring in former White House Deputy Chief of Staff Karl Rove. Karl, good morning. Good to see you. I'm sure you have a lot to say on this. But what do you think of that? Not just after Inauguration Day, but after the first 100 days, Democrats floating this idea of an impeachment trial for the president. Your thoughts?
Well, there's a perception problem here, and I think Representative Clyburn's touched on it and reacted to it. If Nancy Pelosi wants to pass a resolution this week, there's no way it's going to be taken up before Joe Biden's inauguration as president on January 20th. The Senate has agreed on a unanimous basis not to come back into session until January 19th, the day before. So the idea that they're going to impeach the president before Joe Biden becomes the new president is ridiculous. And it's going to look rushed. And it looks like they're bent upon retaliation, and it looks like they are concerned about making certain that he can't run in 2024, and all of that is going to be problematic. And I think Representative Clyburn is right. This is a moment where the new president wants to have the focus on him, and this is sucking the oxygen out of the room for Joe Biden, so that we're not talking today about what he wants to do and his new appointments. We're talking about, does Nancy Pelosi want to impeach the president? And they do not want that to be what the Senate is spending its time on in the first 100 days. They want hearings on confirming his appointments to the cabinet and on starting to move forward on his policies. And if the Senate is tied up in this contentious argument about should the president be impeached and not allowed to run in 2024 because of what he said, which I believe was reprehensible and inappropriate. I agree with Jonathan Turley absolutely that the president should not have given that speech and was wrong to give that speech, and what happened afterwards was a result of what he said. But what he said was things like go in peace and go up there and let them know, cheer on the people who agree with us. But this is just a real problem, I think, for the Democrats. And most important of all, it's wrong for the country. The president is disgraced. The president is discredited. He's doing it to himself by spending 2 months talking about baseless charges of widespread voter fraud. And then he caps it off by the speech last week, and by then declaring he's not going to go to the inaugural. Let him go. Let him go in silence and let the country turn the page and move on.
It's a big statement. Alan Dershowitz is basically saying that this isn't just dangerous for Republicans. This is dangerous for both parties and a danger to the Constitution. Listen.
To impeach a president for having exercised his First Amendment rights would be so dangerous to the Constitution. It would lie around like a loaded weapon, ready to be used by either party against the other party. And that's not what impeachment or the 25th Amendment were intended to be.
Making the case that this is not good for either party, Karl.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because, look, again, it would be different if the president had stood up there on Wednesday and said, go up there and smash the doors and take control of the Congress and let the people determine the outcome of the election. That'd be one thing. But look, I hold him responsible for giving license to the people who acted in his name. A small group of people, but nonetheless a small group of people who thought that they'd been egged on by the president and were doing what he told them to do. But I think Dershowitz is right. Speech is difficult to draw a clear line and say, I've read the president's speech several times, and it's atrocious. But there's plenty of cover language in there. Go in peace. I'm going to lead you up there. Let's cheer on the people who agree with us. There's plenty of material in that speech that is an adequate defense. And I think Dershowitz is right. You hold this president responsible for the actions of the people who went up there, and they're responsible for their own actions. They're the ones who determined that what the president was telling them to do was what they were doing. But you hold him totally responsible for him by impeaching, and you are creating a weapon that can be used in a future year against another president. And again, what's to be gained by this? Is it to censure him? Fine, go do that. Is it to condemn him? You're capable of doing that every moment. Is it to keep him from running in 2024? Who thinks today that a large number of Americans who reluctantly voted for him in 2016 because Hillary Clinton was his opponent and voted reluctantly for him in 2020 because the Democrats had such a radical agenda are going to be enthusiastic at all about going to vote for him in 2024. The likelihood of him being a candidate, I don't know, but the likelihood of him winning is remote at best after what he has done in the last 2 months.
Great to get your thoughts on all of that this morning. Karl Rove, thank you.